In this video we'll show you how to make the connections to the back of the microCMA controller. Step 1 is you'll make sure that the power plug is not plugged in and that the switch on the front of the microCMA power is off. So the first cable we'll connect is back near the USB connector in the back left hand corner is the ground connector. So we connect the ground to the back of the controller. You can tighten that up a little bit with a pliers or a wrench if you want. And then the other end of the cable will connect either to your vacuum chamber or to your electronics console, but we want to make sure that it's grounded. Alright, one of the other cables we provide is an interlock cable. This interlock cable would connect to this connector on the BNC here, the connection that says interlock, and then the other end will connect to your ion gauge set point. This is used so that you can have a set point on your vacuum chamber to where if the vacuum is, say, below, let's say it's the chamber pressure is above 1 by 10 to the minus 7 torr, you would want to turn off the microCMA controller automatically. If you don't have an ability to connect it to your ion gauge set point, then we also provide a shorting cap. You can put the shorting cap on, and that will bypass the interlock. You want to make sure, however, when you operate the microCMA controller, that your vacuum is at least in the low 7s. Preferably, since Auger is a UHV technique, you want to be the low 10 to the minus 9s or even the 10 to the minus 10 torr. So, we also have a connection here, the high voltage and preamp cables. CV amp connects to this black connector. Rotate it until the keys line up. It snaps down. Data in connector connects to the data in. Data in cable connects to the data in connector. And then the analyzer cable is where the high voltage, the filament current, and the beam, and the wane out, and the multiplier, and the sweep voltage all go out to the analyzer. By the way, our controller is designed that if two things happen. If this cable is not connected to the analyzer, then all the high voltages are disabled. If the vacuum interlock is not connected, all high voltages are disabled. So that's a safety feature. Now, this connector has got a couple different flat spots on it, and so what we've done is we always mark it with a little marker here so that it helps to guide you on which direction it needs to go. So we'll position it like this so those dots line up. You have to push it a little bit, wiggle it a little bit as you turn it on. You want to make sure that this connector goes on all the way. Not super tight, but it has to be snug. Okay, there we go. So that's nice and tight. So next we'll connect our USB control cable. Plugs in to the back. Then the other end would connect to your PC or desktop computer. Alright, the ion gun is a remote connector that can be set to either TTL high or TTL low to turn your ion gun on if you want to do sputtering. The Z-axis BNC is reserved for future use. We're going to have a possibility to automate the Z translator to move up and down automatically. So far, however, the manual ones are working just fine, but we did design the controller with that feature in mind for future development. Last but not least, we have the AC power connection over here. Now again, make sure that the power switch is off on the front panel when you plug in the power. And in this case we see that it's labeled as 240 volts AC. The controllers are hardwired for either 120 or 240 AC, so within a range. So for example, in Japan the voltages can be 100 volts AC. This controller will work fine at 100 AC. In Europe the voltages can be 240 AC or 230 AC. In the US it's 220 AC. Anything in that range will work properly. Depending on the country that we're shipping the microCMA to, you'll have a different power end. If we know your country, for example, Europe has got one common standard, but Korea has a different standard and China has a different standard, so we try to make sure that we send the correct plug to you. And then you would plug in the power here. So where this is going, this particular unit is going to Europe, so it has a European style plug that would plug in and provide power to the controller. So that is all the connections to the microCMA controller.